Matthews, and I'm joined tonight by Mike Jones.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling deja vu like here. Everything looks the same.
Yeah, everything's the same. Look, I got this thing over my shoulder again. This is very rare. I try to bring you a
It's a rare
cornucopia.
disease.
It's a portfolio, as Simon Harris says, of options. But this time it's the same because, lunkhead that I am, we didn't do this story last night, and we were going to. But
Well, somebody was talking.
right. And yes, that's right. That was me. Okay. It's one of the things I do on this talk show is
Right.
I talk. Do you want to take over all the talking, Mike? I didn't think so.
Sure. Yes.
Sure. Okay. But
Well,
look, the other thing that we do, unlike the Courier and other places and all, if we make a mistake, we're going to come up right away and we're going to talk about it. We're going to face it straight on. Isn't that what you want? The answer is yes. Thank you very much, audience. So,
yes.
what?
See how much he respects your input? He even gives it for you.
All right. I'll wait
Yes.
then.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's
enough waiting, is it?
email
Okay.
address.
All right.
Email address
So-
for your response, badcounty@seacoast.com.
That's right. So, yeah, those guys tried to bill me again today, and I said, "Why are you billing me again?" And they were like, "Oh, we're sorry. Oh, we're going to cut your service off." No, don't do that. So anyway, I'm paid through July. So we got an email today from I got one from Tony Webb. She says, "Well, you were wrong." Well, one of the things you've noticed about us is that, oh boy, this
That we're
thing is
never
slowing me
wrong.
down. This thing is slowing me down again. Okay, so hey, we were fine just until the show started, and now it's slowed down. You'll live. You'll be able to hear everything that we're saying. It's just that my
Right.
motions sometimes are a little bit slow, and it
Mhm.
looks like I'm not actually in sync with my sound. Well, you'll be okay. Anyway, so one of the things you've probably noticed about us is that over a period of time, Mike and I have developed this stutter, and that we'll start talking about something and we'll go, well, to paraphrase, that's because we've got a couple of people, especially on Facebook, that will say, well, but that's not exactly, you said almost exactly, and it's exactly almost. And I mean, it's these tiny, like, you talked with this guy, says Diane Mackin, and where did you talk to him? And what day of the week was it? And what was the ambient air temperature? And which way was the wind blowing? And I'm like, oh man, I don't remember all that stuff. So I have developed, even at the weekly business session when I'm allowed to speak, this tendency to say, now I'm paraphrasing, okay? You all know, by the way that said, what's a paraphrase or not, but we're trying to be ultra careful in the way that we say things. But then Mike also
Dale
has an
does
answer
that. I
to
don't.
that.
I don't.
No, everyone. I
Those people don't question me. They hate Dale. Dale's
That's
the one
correct.
they hate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because as the commissioners were looking for who's to blame for this latest trouble that they're in, it's me, right? Because I'm the one that got up at the weekly business session and announced, which they were not going to do, that they were under investigation, and then that there was a conclusion to that investigation. Now to the penalty phase. Bad boys, bad boys. Okay, whatever. That was, well,
What
not
you
that
gonna
there's
do?
anything wrong with that. Yeah, good one, Mike.
Yes.
So both of us try to be careful about the way that we say things because we don't want to completely paraphrase everything. However, one thing that I'm very good at this point in time, this brief blip of time, is I'm really good at remembering what people have said. In fact, it used to be the commissioners would ask me, well, what was it that we said about, they don't ask anymore. Now that they've been turned into the state for what they did and said, they don't ask me anymore. What was it that we said, Dale? They used to. Simon especially. Is that what I said? I said, yeah, that's what you said. Oh man, I didn't mean to say that. Well, they never admit that kind of stuff now. So here's here's what started this. Last night, I was doing a bit of a paraphrase about Tony Webb. Now here's the glasses that I don't need. Oh, I don't need them. I'm so used to looking at the screen, having okay. So she writes me this email, and the title of the email is, "Whoa, you're getting information wrong. I already corrected you numerous times, Dale." Now, one, Tony Webb has not corrected me numerous times. In her imagination, she's corrected me many times, I'm sure. But it's like Diane Mackin saying, I told you the truth many times. No, it's not holding, Diane. The problem is that she has not corrected me numerous times. Error number one. Then Tony writes, I never said I wasn't involved. Now, we're talking about the recall of Sandy Casanelli. I went back and looked it up, and I didn't say Tony Webb wasn't involved. So when she says, I never said, quote, I wasn't involved, why am I telling you this? Because Tony's going to be running for county commissioner, and she's trying to avoid part of her past. I wouldn't normally bring this up. I make little jokes about it every once in a while, but she also decided to involve an outside party, Rob Pell, and sending him a copy of this. And as long as we keep it between ourselves, Tony, it's okay. You can tell me anything you want. I know what you said and didn't say. But if you're going to involve other people, then on our show you go. She says, I never said I wasn't involved. This is purely out of the Cheryl Walker playbook, because Cheryl will say, well, you said that all firefighters are pedophiles. No, I didn't. And everybody knows I didn't say that. And only a crazy person would say that or suggest that someone said that. So Tony says, I never said I wasn't involved. Nobody ever said that, Tony. I said, says Tony, in answer to a question of how many signatures, SIGs, I collected, that I didn't recall or remember how many signatures I collected. Well, actually, the way that went was, you want to get into this? Let's go. I said on our show that she had mentioned I really wasn't involved. Now, you got to listen to the way that Tony says these things, and everybody. There's lots of people that put air quotes, these goofy air quotes around things. And the first time we talked about this, Tony, we were standing in front of the Ann Basker at about a 45-degree angle to the Ann Basker to satisfy Diane Mackin. And I don't remember what the ambient air temperature was, but the relative humidity was 45%. And you said to Mike and I wasn't involved. I got that. Lots of people talk that way. You didn't say I wasn't involved. I wasn't involved. No, you said I wasn't involved. Well, everybody knows what that means. Mike's always saying, well, we know what they really mean. And what she really means was she wasn't as involved as one might think. I wasn't fully involved, or I wasn't grossly involved, or whatever you want to say. And I said, Tony, you were involved. And then her answer was, because I remember these details, I wasn't, involved. I understand that too. She means she wasn't like fully involved. It came up again, and this she said in front of Mike and I, in front of the
like fully ablaze.
Like an involved fire. Okay, she was involved, but she
I'm
wasn't.
going to need a dictionary to find, how many different definitions of involved there are.
Oh my gosh, But if we're going to be pedantic, I can do that. Let's be pedantic. And so later on, it was.
I've seen that.
You know that about me? Yes. Okay. And later on, when we were at the Republican Central Committee headquarters across the street from the courthouse, the one with the copper top, and we were talking among ourselves with other potential candidates for county commissioner, Tony said, I wasn't that involved. Kind of like with air quotes around word that. And what is she getting at here? What she's trying to get at is in front of a group of people who were also participating with her in the recall of Sandy Casanelli, I doubt that she'd be that disengaged from it. Well, yes, I was involved. I don't know. That'd be my guess. But when she's in front of people who like Sandy Casanelli and think that Sandy Casanelli got a bum deal and think that Art Harvey shouldn't have accepted 646 pages of documents that were incorrectly and illegally filled out, they might not like it. So now Tony Webb is saying, I wasn't that involved. I wasn't really involved. Okay, but 116 signatures. Tony Webb, you were involved. Then she went on to say, just a little bit more and I'm almost done, Diane Mackin and I set together a growers market. Oh, really? See, I never knew that. Did you know that, Mike?
No, I had not heard that.
Yeah. So Oh, now the plot thickens. Okay, now Diane Mackin was sitting there with her,
We apparently
collecting
have some
signatures.
latency tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Sorry. It's, some people are allergic to that. They got to wear cotton gloves. I don't know. Anyway, that's lovely. Okay. Now, I don't know about these two, but I was there during some of that signature gathering. I told you that story last night about how the people were saying things that were not on the petition. That's illegal. By state law, that's just as illegal as what Mark Gatlin did with getting people to sign the petition for the property tax, telling them things that are not on the petition. That may explain one of the reasons why when you look on the back of all those 646 pages, it says, I swear that all the information here is accurate. There were things that were on that petition that were not accurate, and nobody was signing that. Is that the reason they didn't sign it? Well, whatever their reason, Art Harvey could have said, now listen, guys, you didn't sign these. Come in and sign this 646 times. You're required to do so. He did not. So when you're making your decision about which direction to go, you can pick somebody that would work perfectly with Cheryl Walker in denying things that have happened, or trying to avoid your past, or trying to say, well, I didn't really put forward any junk ordinances. You could. Or you can look for someone that's been proud of what they've done, stands up for it and says, yes, by gosh, I think that Sandy Casanelli was awful, and I don't think so, but she might think that, and so that's why I helped collect 116 signatures against her. Don't try to weasel out of it in front of me. All right, everybody. So, next subject. Roy Lindsay.
We got a really, really big show tonight. I'm just segueing. That's,
Oh, no. What is this thing over my shoulder? Over this shoulder. Okay. We're going to tell you something that you already know intuitively. You don't need to have the exact wording in front of you, but there's a reason why the county commissioners are required, and city councilors and everybody else, to tell you what's going to be happening in a meeting. They have to have an agenda. They have to tell you ahead of time what's going to be on the agenda. They have to notify you, because to be an informed populace, you need to have some kind of clue of what's coming up. And to mention Sandy Casanelli again, every week she takes the weekly business session. She does a whole sheet of what's going to happen at that weekly business session. Next week it's a Tuesday instead of Wednesday, because Wednesday's Veterans Day. It'll be Tuesday at 2 o'clock, not at 9, at 2. Am I right? Oh, geez, no, I'm not. It's at 1 o'clock. I'm sorry. Well, this is very unusual. Tuesday at 1 p.m., 1 p.m., 1 p.m., okay? Like you're going to go, okay, but or you're going to watch cable TV, okay? Or if you're living in Cave Junction, it doesn't make any difference. You don't have cable TV anymore. They took it away from you. You're too much trouble. And in this particular case, Sandy's sending out all the things having to do with the weekly business session, and then making notations about other things that are coming up, or saying you might want to look at this, or why does it say $5,000 when it's really $1,000? She's still involved, but we don't hear that from previous county commissioners. So why is she doing this? She's an involved citizen. So Mike, why don't you tell us what the handbook says, the 2014 handbook says about, this is more interesting than it sounds, at least I hope it is to you, about what kind of notice you have to give to people before you can have an official meeting of a quorum of county commissioners. What does it say, Mike Jones?
Well, it says, how far in advance must a public body give notice of its regular meetings? A, far enough in advance reasonably to give interested persons actual notice and an opportunity to attend. Because the notice must specify that would be specify the principal subjects to be covered, it must be given separately for each meeting, even though the public and news media know that the body meets every Wednesday evening.
Okay, so in this particular case, this is why the commissioners got in some kind of trouble with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, because what they were doing is they were listing things as matters from commissioners in secret session. Secret session's bad enough, but to list it as matters from commissioners, now not only is a secret, but they're not even going to tell you what the subject is. And we caught Simon one time, Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger asked her, well, why are you going into executive session? That's none of your business. It's none of our business. I said to him, you really said it's none of our, well, it isn't. No, that is our business. You don't need to tell us why. You don't need to tell us exactly word for word what you said, because you say you must go into executive session. I don't know why he did on this one. It was about mineral rights. And they were having Dogami, it's spelled like Dogami mucho. Department of Organic Gaming. I don't remember, but it has something to do with mining. And in this case, now what's happened is instead of putting down matters from commissioners, they just put nothing. They meet. They got a piece of paper. I've seen the piece of paper several times. It says agenda on it, and then they say there's no agenda. But I pointed out to them, but it says agenda at the top of your page. That's not an agenda. Okay, these are the county commissioners we have. All three of them, we have to say goodbye to people like that. The next sentence, the next question and answer says this. Question, is a notice posted solely on a bulletin board sufficient? Answer, it is not.
It is not. However, such a notice may be used with news releases and mailing lists to meet notice requirements. There you go.
Right,
Page 419 of the public records and what is this? Public records and meetings manual.
Be sure you look at the 2014 edition and not the 2008 edition. Do we know what we're talking about? Does it sound to you like we know what we're talking about and we know what the law says? We went around and around with this, who is that Fibber guy from before? Stevich, right? He actually said in a meeting, well, putting it on a wall is enough. It says, no, it's not enough just to put it on the wall, because the wall is in the courthouse. And if you're not a county employee or one of their sycophants, you're not going to know what they're talking about. And that's not informing the people. You don't need to look at a piece of paper to tell you this. Inform the people what you're going to talk about. That's all. It's simple. It's so dead simple. Now, Mike, this is bad news because this involves Wally Hicks again. Please play the videotape.
Would that be the one that has Wally in the title?
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
Madam Chair, several of us noticed that today's meeting was not posted on the county website. Therefore, if you proceed with this meeting, you'll be violating Oregon public meeting law.
Excuse me. I don't know if it's on the website, but it's definitely on the hall. So
it's against the law to just post it in the hallway. It's specific in the law.
All right.
Okay.
We're all right. Yes.
Wally Hicks just said you were all right.
There you have it.
The sheriff says, good. The sheriff, the chief law enforcement official in our county, says, good.
Well, I would assume that he was there to do a particular piece of business, and so he looked over at Wally, and you know, I mean, the sheriff's not a lawyer, so he looks over at Wally, and Wally says, "You're good," and so he takes your word, or he takes Wally's word over yours. That's what happened there. I don't know that I would necessarily call out the sheriff. Oh, he's a bad guy because he said good.
I didn't say that. No,
okay.
What I'm saying is
there was some inference there.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Knowing the history that we have of looking at the law, quoting the law to these characters, okay, telling Wally what the law says at least twice on this one particular thing about how Steve Rich's predecessor said it was okay just to post it on a wall.
Right.
Wally, wall, you see the similarity. And having told the commissioners several times it's not good enough just to post it on a wall. And then it's simply posted on the wall. And then for them to look over at Wally, and Wally says, "You're good. You know, you can do this. It's okay." Wally has absolutely chosen a side, and it's against the law, this side he's chosen.
Yeah, this is it's an unfortunate thing that Wally has decided that, you know, I guess he's come around to Steve Rich's way of thinking on this or something, which of course didn't pan out very well for them. But you know, I don't know. It's
what does this say over my shoulder? This is a direct quote from the manual. It says, "It is not. It is not." You know, you don't see that kind of stuff in a government manual printed quite so clearly. It is not okay to just post it on a wall. There's a reason for that. It's not just some arcane rule like, well, I don't really understand why. It's because it's not enough just to put it on some wall and you know what it says, but none of the population knows what it says. You have to tell us. And this was the most important meeting of the week. What's happening on Thursday?
No dispute about any of what you just said there. However, when it comes to the sheriff going good,
all right.
I would suggest to you that the conversations that they have with one another behind closed doors, not that you're not privy to, they're saying that Dale Matthews, you know, and so they generally disrespect what you have to say. And so
Sandy and I were the lead people, the only people to turn them into the state. Now is not the time to be crossing the OGEC again, is it?
Listen, understood, but this is the depth of where these people are at. I mean, this is not too much different from the city council saying, yeah, here, let us tell you about why we were in favor of the sales tax, even though 78% of the citizens aren't.
That's
the same thing.
Crazy. That's crazy. So take it away. Oh, one last thing before Mike takes it away on the sales tax, because we're really going to talk about that again.
Take it away.
When I noticed that it wasn't, when I observed that it wasn't noticed, whatever the English language is, I did a screen capture. I did a screen capture with date and time. That was the night before. It must be, you must tell people 24 hours ahead of time, you know, tell them longer than that, but okay, you're supposed to tell them. Then I did another screen capture at 8:38 in the morning because I go over to the meeting. I did it just before leaving, right?
Right.
Well, it still wasn't up. Then I did one at 2 p.m. Yes, I'm pedantic. I know that already, but this is how we catch them. You want us to catch them, hold their feet to the fire, make them accountable. This is accountability. Wally Hicks is fully accountable for giving them bad information, okay? 2 p.m., it wasn't there. By 5 p.m., when I checked one more time, guess what? History had been changed, and they posted as if it was always there.
Yeah. You know what? And this is the thing. And I've said this before. This whole open public meeting law stuff and the nitpickety stuff about it, I find it boring. However, comma, there is a point to all of this. The point is that when you don't notice stuff, then people don't know about it. And if it's in their interest, they cannot show up and be represented. They cannot show up and be a part of the process. They cannot show up and be privy to the process that's going on that ultimately is probably going to affect them, their business, their property, etc. So as much as I find the chapter and verse of Oregon public meeting law boring, it is important. you know, these people ought to be holding to it. And why, after several years in office, can you not get it right? I would imagine the gal who we never ever see over there, because she's behind a monitor the whole time, but it's typically, well, it's a different gal. Sometimes it's not always the same person, but isn't it her job? And
Yes.
one and only job to make sure that, and she's, you know, posting the thing up there. I mean, listen, we are paying these people a lot of money. The least that we should expect from them is that they clean the bar glasses and wipe down the counter. You know, I mean, this is the basic stuff that you would do if you're running a bar, or you know, being one of the board of commissioners or the staff that's in that office. There are certain things that you're required to do. For crying out loud, there isn't that much. I know darn well that this is a cakewalk job in that office. These people are not toiling, sweating all day. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this done. This workload, I can't deal with it. No, this is not what happens there. Okay, so if these people can't get their job done, somebody ought to hold them accountable. And the reason why that even after this thing with the OGEC happened, the reason why that this is going on is because they don't have any respect for the rules, and they don't have any respect for Dale, who is calling them out on it. That's why.
We could have just pointed a camera at them and caught them doing this and then turned it into the state. You better believe we're going to turn it into the state. But instead, I did try, for better government, to give them a warning. And the easy thing for them to do is say, oh my gosh, oh, what an oversight. Gosh, what a lunkhead thing. Okay, we can't have this meeting. And it's possible even someone else, having sit at that table, would say, you know, I cannot participate in something that's illegal. Even if there's a question about whether it's illegal or not, I cannot participate. I'm up and out of here. That's a possibility.
However,
I would have.
Okay,
I would have done that.
However, listen, you have to understand. I understand that you see it from behind your own eyeballs, so you're seeing it in a different way than they are. When the sheriff looks over at Wally, the chief law enforcement official in the county, and says, and Wally goes, "You're okay." He goes, "Huh? There we go." You know, and to him, that's solid. That's rock solid.
I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do.
Okay.
And if they're going to go along with something, and you know, I mean, really,
know.
I'm going to be, and I'm going to speak out of turn, and
Right.
I'm going to tell you something that's not true, and you know, Sandy and I are the
But
only
we're
ones
still
who see
talking about
the
what we're
law.
still talking about. What we're still talking about in this particular situation is the sheriff and other people that were sitting at the table. And in this particular situation, the sheriff doesn't know the law. He doesn't. And it looks as though Simon didn't even know the law, because he looked over at Wally and said, hey, what about this, Wally? And Wally says, you're good. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily, you know, go after the sheriff. I mean, Simon should know better. He should know better.
Well, Simon should know better, because I told him this one goofy rule in particular, because it's so ridiculous. That's what stuck in my head. Ridiculous things stick there, but that's my problem. You know, I pointed out this is what Steve Rich did before. It was a ludicrous stand to take, because it's dead certain what it says. Okay, all right. So Mike and I really do want to talk more about the city council and what are some of the things that they said. We did this for the people. This is the sales tax. We did it for the people. Why? The people wanted us to do this, and that's why we did it. Why? Maybe we'll bring it back in a year or two. This is from the mayor, who said, well, if everything was, all the businesses were going out, we might keep it going for another year or two. They're already involved. We know this because we can see the stories on the front page of the Courier. We see the stuff on KJO on every day. Crime. It's the crime channel. Crime in New Jersey. My gosh. Anything having to do with crime. And also now on Channel 10. Well, the sheriff really needs money. They're already ramping up. You know what they're ramping up for. So, Mike, take it away a little bit here, Bud. What do you think about these claims that the city council really does understand the voters, and they're so happy the voters kind of gave them some feedback?
Well, it's very clear that they didn't understand the people, and even when the people tried to convince them of what their feelings about the sales tax were, some of these counselors wouldn't hear of it. And the perfect example of this is Roy Lindsay. He's talking about that they went on a little walkabout in downtown Grants Pass and talked to the merchants about the sales tax, and polled their opinion on it, and then tried to re-educate them when they objected. And here is Roy Lindsay on that.
A few weeks ago, I was a participant in the Chamber of Commerce survey downtown, where we went from business to business. And I was given the opportunity to walk along G Street and walk into various businesses and ask a series of 5 questions. And the bottom one was, would you favor a sales tax or something like that? And immediately, it was no. And I said, do you know what it is? Do you know how it would operate? Do you know what it involves? And they said, no.
Oh, give me a break.
And then I took the time to explain to them what their role was, what it did, how much it was, and the fact that it spread out and also was able to garner some resources from people outside of the city, also garner some resources from the tourists who are used to paying sales tax. And after I finished, 50% said yes of the people that I talked to. And some would say, I don't care. I don't care what the information is. I just say no. And so I think that given what Jim is saying, that provided the proper information, the correct information, the valid information as to what the resolution is and what the sales tax does, I think that carries more weight than just a flat no by business. I think that many of them just react rather than understand. And once they have a level of understanding, they said, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm in favor of that. But I move that we adopt Resolution A.
Seconded by Jim. Dare I ask further discussion? I don't want to leave anything unsaid. Okay. I escaped with a few extra minutes on that one. Then I would put it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise a hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mark, is your hand up, or could you give us a yay or nay?
No, just at that moment, he went to the bathroom.
Oh, nice. He seems to be out of the room.
He's off screen. We don't know why. We don't want to know, probably. Then I had 5. I have those against. I have 2. Would really like to find Mark's vote, but regardless, the motion will carry.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
right.
Ken Hannum is the guy that just recently, he was one of the 2 who said no. He was kind of wimpy in his no, to be honest. I mean, to use a technical term, a television term, wimpy. And now he says, well, we're just trying to do the will of the people. Yeah, well, that's good for you, Ken. He's up for re-election. Too bad Roy Lindsay isn't.
Now,
how is he so wrong about this, Mike? Roy says 50% of the people, once he told them the truth, according to Roy Lindsay, were just, this is a wonderful idea. Well, how come it turned out 80% against and 20% for, Mike?
Well, I tend to think that the people who were against the thing, and now he said that even after he re-educated them, that 50% of them still said no. Okay.
Unreasonably so. The way he was telling his story, these were the same people who still said no without even thinking about it. Even though I told them the facts, they weren't interested in the facts. They just wanted to say no.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing. That even though he gave them the information, 50% of them said that 50% of them didn't cave in. 30% of them did. So in other words, you had a whole bunch of them that said no. And the difference between, 80 and 50. So 30% of the people will cave in and tell you, yes, I agree with you. Now get out of my store.
I wasn't really involved in a recall. Why, I'm just caving in just to, give me a break.
Okay.
Just stand for what you believe and be proud of it. That's all. Don't be telling us now, well, we did it because the people insisted. What a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah, I don't think they insisted. I think government wants more money, and they will do whatever they can to get it, even try to re-educate you. And listen, they're going to re-educate you and tell you for the next 2 years how bad of a thing it was that you didn't pass the sales tax, so that they can then pass it, when it comes up here the next time.
Well, that's because they're going to wait till the property tax fails, which it will, and then they're going to say, see, there's no other alternative. Which do you want now? This bad tax or this bad tax? There's no other alternatives.
I'm glad you mentioned the property tax because, as we know, that has been kicked off already. And Channel 10 was in town here last week, and they put out a little series on Are You Safe in Josephine County? And we have the two first parts to that segment. Would you like to see them, Dale?
I would like to see at least one of them, yes.
Okay, here's part one.
These days, it's not easy getting a Josephine County Sheriff's deputy to respond to an emergency. Back in 2007, the sheriff's budget was slashed, cutting deputies and departments within the sheriff's office. Public safety levies have been defeated 6 different times since then. Last year, citizens elected a new sheriff, Dave Daniel. He says it's not easy to cover as much ground in the county as he would like to, but it wasn't always the case.
We used to have upwards of 35 deputies here in Josephine County, and they run a 24/7 with the detectives division, but that's just no longer.
Recent events in the county have put the lack of law enforcement back in the spotlight. There have been at least 4 fatal traffic accidents and 5 shootings since June. Daniel says having more patrol deputies could have prevented some of these from occurring.
You get the more drunks out driving because they're not stopped. You get the person that may go into somebody's house and commit murder because you maybe caught them driving, earlier or driving recklessly, that sort of thing.
The Josephine County Sheriff's Office currently has 8 patrol deputies. Daniel says they work 7 days a week, but not 24 hours a day. Oregon State Police is available to respond to calls after hours, but only for life-threatening situations.
It can be difficult sometimes to have deputies go from one side of the county to the other to respond to calls.
That's what's disheartening for us. We certainly don't mind doing it, but it's hard on the deputies as well to be able to almost be handcuffed themselves, which is really unfortunate.
The lack of law enforcement is also disheartening for citizens. Kayla Guthrie says she doesn't normally see more than 1 patrol car in Cave Junction.
I have an 8-month-old daughter, and it's kind of worries me that we have no law enforcement. I feel like this town's getting worse, and I want it to be more protected as she grows up.
Guthrie says there are problems she sees that law enforcement could cut down on.
And we've had quite a few crashes lately. People getting their houses broken into, their cars broken into. We've had a couple people killed, people murdered. And I just feel like if we actually have a cop around here, maybe people will realize that we have someone looking over us.
Hauling by a wagon load over behind the Waldo Hotel.
Roger Ramsey used to live in the county and says he experienced long response times.
You're just pretty much on your own out there unless it's a very, very serious situation. And this was back in the 80s, and it hasn't gotten any better.
Oh, wait a minute.
What's different today, Roger?
It hasn't got better from the 80s?
Safer.
Safety that may not improve in the county unless
Didn't the sheriff just tell us it used to be better?
Covering your news.
Yeah.
Will Metzold, News 10.
Also, a note for Kayla.
Yes, murders and killings are the same thing.
And also a little note for Kayla. Kayla, you've got one sheriff's deputy for the residents of Cave Junction. And that's a better percentage than all the rest of the county. It's a better percentage than you had back in the 80s. You've got
when
one
he
person
shows up and does his job.
you. Right. Well, but the thing is, they have the guy there, and they are paying him directly to serve them. And if that's not enough for you, can you imagine what would happen if we had one deputy for every, thousands of people in the whole? I mean, we'd have like 100 deputies. I'm making a number up. I don't know for sure, Diane. Why don't you tell us, Diane? So how many people would we have to match the 80s when they weren't doing it back then? They're playing back footage to try to extol the virtues of something that has never worked right. We made the cost-benefit analysis. Oh, the people are disheartened. The people aren't disheartened. Channel 10 is disheartened because we're not doing what you think that we ought to do. Get lost, Channel 10, on this particular thing. They're part of the ramp up for the next thing, which is not proven by the numbers or by the mood of the people. I'm not falling for this, but I'm just not going to fall for it. I'll listen to it, but I'm going to comment. We're given the opportunity by Keith Eck to say anything. But if you cross this guy, and if you say something, even if it's not scatological, even if you're not running around the room screaming, even if you're not calling people names like he calls us, then you can still get in lots of trouble. What does that mean, get in lots of trouble, Mike? Video footage, Mike. The video footage, Mike. That's what it means.
Oh! You want to play that? Okay. That was on the queue for last night, and it wasn't on the queue for this night. But I can roll with the punches. So just hang on just a second here, and I'll have punches that for you.
No punches for me. Okay.
Oh no.
So yes.
Here's your punch, right in the noggin here. Here we go.
Thank you, sir.
In that you know and declare that I have been found guilty of ethical violations, that you are now moving forward without the Board of County Commissioners, that you are now part of the past of which you have turned your back. I see no point in recognizing you for 3 minutes to address as you consider us historic relics of insignificance. So I will not be recognizing you.
He spent a while composing
have
that.
Any comments? Yes, Mark.
Oh yeah. And then the next, person couldn't wait to run up and read a speech. Okay, whatever. Wasn't paying any attention. The room could have been burning down, and the next person to come up had no idea what was happening and what was at stake, because it's me today. Well, you said some things that were disparaging to the commissioners. Yes, and I don't like that, so you can't speak anymore. Really, that's me today. It could be you tomorrow, Mike, because you said some disparaging things on the show about the
yes, Dale's trying to get me banned.
Yes, right. That's nice. So anyway, everybody, there you go.
I would not be bothered by that too much, but
Well, they've been waiting to do this for a long time, buddy. How in the world are we going to be able to ban this guy? Well, he says that he's going to move on without us. If that's the case, then we're not going to let him talk anymore. That's sweet. Oh, isn't that great? So next thing. Okay, so here I am at this meeting in Gold Hill. These are long meetings. And every once in a while, something will happen and you go, oh my, there's some kind of connection between what we're doing and what they're doing. Like the guy that said that he was forced to charge less than he would like to for services because he couldn't keep the contract unless he did that. That's crazy. Anyway, so the city manager of Gold Hill, it is relevant. Dan Mancuso. This is relevant to all of us, okay? So it turns out that there was something that happened here, and during the pause that's more or less silent with text, go ahead and pause it at that moment, Mike, and then I'll read that aloud. But here's what happened at the Gold Hill City Council, and see if you see similarities between them and us. Go ahead, Mike.
Friday, we received a letter from Oregon Government Ethics, and I included it as an attachment to the report.
And here's what the letter said. Pause it here, please, Mike. And so here's what the city manager of Gold Hill wrote in his report. Friday, the city received a letter from Oregon Government Ethics Commission. That's what he wrote, OGEC, regarding 5 alleged violations. Sounds familiar. Evidently, the alleged violations are not information until the commission does their initial review, so the city was not notified. BS. That's not what it says. When the violations are alleged, but are notified when the commission makes their determinations as to the alleged violations. The commission did not find cause to say that we had done anything wrong. Now, wait a minute. I underlined the city was not notified. Go ahead, Mike. It's going to play silently for a moment.
Madam Chair, would you allow me to say something about the city manager's report if it's not too much trouble?
I'm not sure it's pertinent.
He's already
You've been up here 3 times.
Well, this is pertinent to OGEC if you would like to know about it.
Okay.
I'm sorry it's talking so much. I don't have to. You might want to know this. On the same day that the OGEC met about your issue, they also met about a Josephine County issue, one that's been repeated in even the Washington Times and the AP. I am one of the 2 people who put in that request for action from the OGEC. The OGEC was very careful to make sure that the county commissioners of Josephine County and their legal counsel was informed that there was some kind of problem with their record. Now, if they're not informing you or your legal counsel, you've got a problem, because they're very good about that kind of thing. And to be surprised by a report that comes back, as it seems to say here, that they had some kind of problem and are now informing you that they found that you hadn't violated anything, you should never be surprised by the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. So,
I'm not quite sure where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Donna.
What do we have with the cameras, Mr. Holmbaum?
They
Why am I
were
wasting my time with
apparently
these guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. Burning gas going to Gold Hill, for crying out loud. On the other
Driving
side
there
of
in the dark both ways.
uphill in the snow.
Gosh, there wasn't, at that exact moment, there was no one in that room that knew more about the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. None of them have been to their meetings. There's nobody in that room that knows more about it. I was one of you heard what I said, but the point is, they didn't want to hear it. That they were not interested in the fact that their city manager had just given them false testimony that we weren't notified. There's no way in the world that they weren't notified. There's no way that their lawyer, Steve Rich, wasn't notified. There's no way that the city manager wasn't notified. These guys escaped without being found guilty. They didn't want to talk about it.
Perhaps, yes.
So it's not doing them any good to try to point. Nobody's going to be surprised when the OGEC is looking into you. Of course they're going to tell you, well, because they don't make it public, they haven't said anything to us. What a bunch of malarkey again. This is ridiculous. Can't help these guys. Well, I'm not really sure what you're getting at. Why am I even talking to you then? I didn't say that, but, oh, brother. Anyway, you do try. I tried to tell the county commissioners, you can avoid this problem. You can avoid this problem. Isn't it interesting? I think it's interesting that maybe nobody does but me, but that they considered both Gold Hill and Josephine County on the same meeting.
Maybe they do it by area or something. Who knows?
No, they don't do it by area. They didn't find them guilty because they don't find anybody guilty. That's what's so amazing about this thing with the commissioners. That's what's so really amazing. We've been doing this for years and years, and the other evidence we had was better than this evidence, more concise than this evidence. This time, for some reason, it's stuck. Well, again, it's up to you. Okay, because they're not going to get any penalty that means anything. Okay, you know, you don't get the refund on your bottle cap deposits or whatever. That's what's going to happen to them. It's up to us. It's up to us as citizens to follow through with the energy that was that came up because of this stupid idea of a sales tax, first in the whole state. You know, it's Roy Lindsay's sales tax city now. It's up to us to follow through with saying that we toss some of these guys out who still don't get the message. It's up to make sure that when commissioners say, you know, I know we're breaking the law and I don't care, but then they tell the state, well, they don't really know what the law is. Why would any of us put up with that? Mike, please tell us why we put up with that.
Well, because we elected them and then they did this to us and we don't have much choice but to take it until we get rid of them.
Okay, so we're going to one more piece of hard news and then a little comedy for the evening. Okay, so I've got here, this is changing the subject. It's not about the things we've been talking about, but I have here this this monthly advertising circular that goes around that also writes an article or two. And this one, as you can see the title here, can you read that title, Mike?
It says county considers a fire ordinance.
Right, and that's about the draft ordinance that's in its third iteration, and Wally Hicks is rewriting it again to try to match with what they're saying.
Why are we commenting on this? It's just a draft.
Yes, right, and it's D-R-A-F-T in capital letters.
Capital.
So what I wanted to point out is the guy that publishes this advertising circular, pretty much like what the Illinois Valley News is turning into, an advertiser. We can't publish that story because my advertisers won't like it. I never said that. Yes, you did. I know what you said, Dan. Okay, so even Curtis Hayden in here, who is the one that says Cheryl Walker is just the best commissioner ever. So he's asking questions of these guys. I'm going to put on the glasses that I don't need. I'm going to tell you what it was that was said to this guy, because
this is a non-commercial show, by the way.
Yeah, you don't know where I got these. And Heck said to Curtis Hayden, there was a lot of misinformation about the proposed regulation of fire districts. A lot of misinformation floating around. Quote, we are not trying to establish a rate or franchise fee, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Then we're not trying to establish a rate. We're not trying to establish a rate or franchise fee. Then
the last I read, franchise fees are part of this thing.
Even Curtis Hayden is not going to be fooled about this. He's the one that said that this advertising circular was pretty much like a newsletter for the Chamber of Commerce. Dan Mancuso out in Illinois Valley is president of the Chamber of Commerce. His newspaper is changing. So even this guy says Heck was being a little sly about the franchise fee. I wonder if there's any other way to put that. Being a little sly, lying to my face. Heck was being a little sly about the franchise fee. When I talk with Mike Shaw, Chief Executive Officer of Rural Metro, This is amazing. He said the county still intends to charge a fee. It just won't be called a franchise. Right. And the guy says instead the county is calling it a licensing fee.
A franchise by any other name is just as stinky.
You know, when you've even got Curtis Hayden stumbling over the news and reproducing it in his advertising circular, that's when you know nobody's buying your line of bull. Nobody. Yet your friends are telling you, you and Cheryl are going to get reelected. Everybody loves you. And this is going to be great for the citizens. This is what the citizens asked us to do, Mike.
Yeah. I don't think either one of them has a chance in Hades, but Cheryl, I mean, she is delusional. This is going to be a very embarrassing, life-changing embarrassment for her. I would not recommend it, but you know, she's already done it, so that's.
It's very similar to what the city councilors need to learn. Okay, yes, this did not pass. No, you should not be telling everybody that you did it for the good of the people and because you believe in the American way, and this is what the people requested you to do. That's just totally wrong. I mean, you stand in front of the flag and say that kind of stuff. You salute the thing. You do. Don't get me started on that. So, but what they need to understand is that this perfidy, look that up, is going to follow them throughout the rest of their political careers. No, they don't get paid anything for this. And they might say, well, I welcome, as Jim Goodwin said, I welcome the idea that you would recall us. Yeah, I don't think that you really do, old Jim. But even if you did, do you welcome the idea that this, you know, Lindsay sales tax is going to be wrapped around your neck for the rest of your adult life? Really? That you were so tone deaf about the public that you thought that they were going to support this? With all of the indications to you, with the people packing in, all those people, all editorials, not in this stupid advertising circular, but all these editorials, all the people telling you, giving negative feedback. Well, I think if I go out and I just tell them one by one, well, I can get 50%. 50% is not good enough, Roy. It's also not passing. Okay. So we're going to end up with just a little bit of a more lighthearted thing. It shouldn't be lighthearted, but it is. Just so that you know, Dwayne Stark is the state representative for part of Josephine County and part of Douglas County. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. And so whenever you're talking with someone like, let's say, Senator Bertschiger, or maybe this radio guy that purports to represent us, you know, the one that's against the First Amendment, Carl Wilson, Dwayne Stark is sometimes involved because part of Josephine County is combined with part of Douglas County. So we get this email from someone saying, do you know what happens when you call the 800 number? I didn't know there was an 800 number. When you're trying to report something to the Josephine County Sheriff, when you look in the Douglas County phone book, that's just all odd. Well, Mike went there, and he's going to play back part of this. It's not like it's earth-shattering news, but it's pretty amazing and amusing.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. And the picture that you're going to see here is I Googled this phone number because I wanted to make sure somebody had told us this is the Josephine County non-emergency line 800 number. And so I Googled the number, and here's what I came up with. And here's the audio that goes with it.
Carefully, as our menu options may have changed. Calls are recorded for quality assurance. We're very excited to tell you about a special promotion for select callers. This will only take a moment. By answering just a few questions, we will find out if this offer is right for you. Are you or is someone in your household 50 years of age or older? Press 1 for yes. If you or someone in your household is 50 years of age or older, otherwise press pound. Just for calling today, you have the opportunity. Congratulations! As a preferred guest, you're invited to claim a free 5-night stay in magical Central Florida, courtesy of our Disney Planning Center Resort, along with Alamo.
You just called the Josephine County Sheriff's Office.
World.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy world-class accommodations in one of the best resorts in Orlando, featuring giant TV screens, free warm breakfast, 300-acre lake with water sports, on-site restaurants and tiki bar, 18-hole miniature golf course, 5
That's what I
pools
need,
plus
miniature
the
golf.
kids' water park, a fitness center, and we even have a free Disney shuttle too. Remember, you
Mike,
have an
have a hole
entire
in one.
18 months to use your free 5-night Disney Planning Center resort stay. However, in order to receive your free 5-night stay, you'll need to be at least 25 years of age with a major credit card and purchase an Alamo gift card for future use today. If you'd like to learn more about your Orlando getaway, please press 1 now. Press 1 now.
I'm bleeding out. Help!
Orlando getaway.
Yes.
Otherwise, press pound.
And so I got on and pressed pound.
Find the best. State Farm offers the life insurance policies and tools you
That's
need
what I
to
need.
help
Now
provide
I
for the
need-
ones you love.
I need
Yes.
life
Now
insurance.
and in the years to
If
come.
I'm bleeding,
Find
can I
the
still get a
coverage that fits
contract if
your
I'm
life
bleeding
with
out?
State Farm. To take advantage of this offer, press 1 now to be transferred to a State Farm agent. Press 1 now to speak with a State Farm agent.
Oh, I have a
about
feeling I'm about to die. Can I still get life insurance?
information about life insurance. Press
Yes.
1 now. Otherwise, please press pound.
And so I pressed pound because I wanted to see what came next.
Congratulations! Just for calling in today, you're going to the Bahamas.
Woo!
on a complimentary
Yay!
cruise.
All right.
Wow, this is really
See
exciting.
the number at the
It
top?
is
Try that
exciting.
number.
The 2-night cruise will include unlimited dining
Should
in
be
the
calling Keith
four
Heck to complain,
spectacular
but call this
restaurants,
number instead. It'll
use
be
of our
more fun.
luxurious onboard spa and health club, as well as access
I
to
need
one
a
of the
spa,
largest
and I need a health club now.
cruise ships.
Yes.
Your only responsibility
Oh,
is
the water
nominal
is
port
pink.
fees of $59 per person, payable to your credit card today.
Today.
Congratulations again. I'm sure you'll have a
He stole
fabulous
my credit
time on your
card.
Bahamas cruise, and it may be used anytime.
And it goes on for several more
You
minutes.
already may be a wiener.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Good gosh.
Awesome.
So first of all, don't call the Josephine County Sheriff's Department at an 800 line if you live in Douglas County.
Yes.
Second, don't say yes to any of the above because you'll be dead before you get your benefits. And by the way, since you called in now, you already have won.
Yes.
Now, what I want you to do, as the story goes of one of these local guys, I want you to stay on the phone with me. Keep me on the phone while you get into your car, drive to your bank. Don't get off the phone. And be sure to take out $400 and send it to us just to play. And this is going to be refunded to you so that you can receive your $5 million that you're due from the Bank of Nigeria.
And send your complaints to badcounty@cpros.com.
Send your complaints directly to Keith Heck.
Ah.
His phone number is 541-474-5221. Tell him how much you appreciate the fact that he's taking a brave stand against people who turn him into the state. And that in retaliation, everybody's going to see you turn in the commissioners to the state, you will not be allowed to talk again, even if you're speaking politely. This offer does not apply to county commissioners who call people names. Well, thank you, everybody, and hopefully a couple of people learned a lesson. Some people may have learned if you want to cross the swords with me, I welcome the opportunity. Mike, anything else that you have to say, sir?
Yeah, or if you want a great deal on a cruise to the Bahamas, call 800-548-7147.